Okay, welcome back to another watch battery changing session. Here we are replacing the batteries, as in plural, 2 batteries, for a Casio G-shock Gravitymaster, which is model number G as in George, A as in Apple, 1000, F as in Frank, C as in Charlie, or GA 1000 FC. And here is the face of the watch. This is the second video that I've done on battery replacement for this watch. The first video I took down, and this video is replacing it. And I'm re-uploading this procedure because a number of people who saw the video previously did not like the fact that I did not remove the back strap, or the wrist strap rather, and found that rather annoying in terms of instruction on how to remove the battery. So yes, I was being a little bit lazy, and at least I demonstrated at the point in time that you don't have to remove the wrist strap if you don't want to. You can successfully change the batteries without doing that. However, for the purposes of illustrating this procedure more clearly, I do understand the criticism that, at least for demonstration purposes, I should have removed this. And besides, removing the wrist strap is not exactly difficult. So, and we're going to do it right now. So the easiest way is to just push this in. I've got a small paper clip here. There is a tool for this, but I don't have it. So we just push in the pin and separate the 2 sides of the wrist strap like so. So now we have the back exposed, and I'm going to use a precision Phillips head screwdriver. You could also use a precision or so-called jeweler's flathead screwdriver, because the way that these 4 screws are configured, you can use either or. But I like the grip that the Phillips head affords, so that's what I'm going to use. And you remove all 4 of these screws, set them aside someplace safe so they don't disappear, because good luck finding replacements. You probably find replacements out on eBay somewhere, but obviously that'll delay the repair and ruin your day. And once these little tiny screws go flying, I think that the hopes of finding them again after they disappear are somewhere between slim and none. So I would recommend caution when removing these screws. And as you can see, I have this white tablecloth. I'm doing this on my dining room table. And so there we have it. And now we pry the back off. And let's see, I'll use a flat for that. And there it pops off. Beware of the O-ring. You want to keep that intact. There is an O-ring lubricant or sealant that you can use. It's made out of silicon. I don't have it. I haven't really looked that aggressively at sourcing it, but they're professionals, so to speak, which actually is a good segue. I'm not a professional. This is my own personal Gravitymaster. I changed the batteries on my watches that need batteries myself, because I'm not exactly enamored of the cost of taking it to a jeweler or the time and all of that stuff. But I dare say that the professionals probably would recommend that you coat the O-ring in some silicone lubricant or O-ring coating or what have you, which I personally don't have, so I'm not going to do that. Now, if you don't do that, then you run the risk of harming your watch's waterproofness or waterproof capability or water resistant capability. And toward that aim, I personally don't plan on taking this watch to the beach and going swimming with it or what have you. So I'm not terribly concerned about it, but I am noting that you may want to think about getting that sealant or lubricant that the professionals talk about. Okay, so now we have the back of the watch exposed, and we have this little plastic or rubbery, maybe it's even silicone backing, which we remove, and that exposes the rear of the watch. Excuse me. And then we have this covering for the two batteries, and that covering, and I'll try to zoom in on this in a second, but first I'm going to read it to you. This little backing for the battery has some printing on it. It says, after battery replacement, contact AC with negative using tweezers. So they have a little image here, and they've got two holes, I guess, or contact points. One of them is marked AC, one of them is marked bracket, negative bracket, and you have to do that in order to complete the battery replacement circuit. At this point, there's a disclaimer that I have to add. The very first time that I replaced the batteries in this watch, which is probably, well, certainly well more than a year ago, probably closer to 2 years, my first attempt was a fail. And the reason it was a fail is because I did not execute this procedure correctly and I damaged the watch. So when I connected these 2 points, these AC and this negative, I connected the wrong 2 points and I burned out half the watch and I had to send it out to be repaired. And that's kind of the caveat with this watch, or with any watch where you're replacing batteries and have to take reset steps afterwards, that there's a risk that you could do the wrong thing and destroy the battery or destroy the watch itself. I did that myself with this watch, and so battery replacer beware, and you have to be extremely careful here or you could do harm. And as I said, again, forewarn you, I'm an amateur, I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional watch guy, I'm just a watch wearer. I have a decent number of watches, I think 14 or 16 of them, and many of them are battery operated, so I'm replacing the batteries myself. So we take up this adhesive little instruction page and we take this off and carefully set it aside. So we want to put that back on. And now we have a 2 batteries locked into the watch with a little cage here. I'm looking for a little pin that I have here, a seamstress pin. And so if I turn this watch over, will you be able to see this a little bit better? Let me see if I can zoom in further. Okay, so we're going to want to unlatch this little battery retainer cage, and you see how it popped up like that? And again, I just used an ordinary pin. And did I get that pin in there? See? Ordinary pin. And so now we have an opportunity to gently extract these batteries. None of these steps should require a large amount of force. So be known about that. There's one battery out, and I'm just gently persuading the battery to exit from behind the cage. And so now we have the cage empty of the batteries. So now it's time for the new batteries. We'll set the old batteries aside so we can't possibly mix them up. And what are we going to replace them with? Well, we're going to replace them with these. I got a pack of 2 of these Energizer batteries, which are the 927, I think SW equivalents, if I recall correctly. So we are going to use these batteries as the new replacements. So just push them out of the foil backing, and then I'm going to compare the size. Oops, thank God that was the bad one. They look like the same size. And so now we gently encourage the batteries to go back in underneath the cage. And so, am I still on camera? Yep, I'm still on camera. Okay, now we want to close the cage, so we just press down on this end until it locks in place. You might have even heard a faint click. Make sure that this plastic retainer is still in place. And so now do we have any life yet? No life on the battery. We've just got the battery indicator is blinking. Did you see that? See that the battery symbol is blinking? Okay, so let's back out on the zoom here a little bit. Well, I said back out. And so now we have to find this AC point and this -0 point and connect the two in order to reset the watch and have it start counting time again. So where I see here, I see a little hole, if you will, in the watch right there, and I see stamped above it AC. So I'm interpreting that to mean this contact point here. And then right here where the screwdriver is, there's a little detent of a circle, and next to it is parenthesis minus parenthesis. So the way that the procedure is looking here, I need to connect these 2 points in order to successfully reset the battery. Again, this is the step where I got myself into trouble, and somehow I got confused over what the right points were, and connected the wrong 2 points and wound up harming the watch. I did send out the watch and have it repaired because I liked this watch, and the cost of repair was less than the cost of replacement. So I paid a third party, I don't remember how much, to repair the watch. And so here we go, like that. And let's see what that did to the watch. And it says open. Can you see that? It says open. It's not ticking, but there we go. I press this button down here in the at 4 o'clock position, and it started ticking again. Smart enough to know that the back of the watch is open, and it started ticking. Of course, we have to reset the time and the date and all of that happy stuff. But we have successfully reset the watch. So the next step is to put everything back the way we found it, which looks like that's it. But, let's see something. I guess that's it. And again, we've got the O-ring that's still intact, so we're just going to turn this over and put the back of the wash. Let's back out a little bit. Press down. And then restart. I'm not going to tighten these screws all the way down. I'm just going to get them in a couple turns. And then after I have each screw started, I'll go back and re-screw all of them down to tight. Not over tight. We definitely don't want to go bananas here. And oops. As I said before, the waterproofness, now that the back has been off and I haven't done anything to wipe down the O-ring with a sealant, may be questionable, and I would avoid exposing this watch to submersion. Maybe one of these days I'll go and find that silicone goop and take the back off again and do that, but for now, in my travels, not absolutely necessary. So there, then I'll just tighten in a cross pattern, I guess. Well, we'll go over here. And then down here, and then up here. And there. And gently. Okay. Back's back on. Now it's time to put the bracelet back on. And do that by pushing down on the pin. I guess that pin is not strong enough. So we'll use a flat, fine jeweler's screwdriver. Push it in and oops. Come on. Okay. And then move it around so it's seated, and it is. And there you have it. It's still ticking. Reset the time and all the other fun stuff on this watch. There are other videos out there on how to do that, and do I remember? So there you have it. Replacing the two batteries on the G-shock Gravitymaster. Once again, to emphasize this, I'm not a professional, and if you follow what I've done here, you do so at your own risk. Not hard to do, but there are certain perils involved, as I've already explained. So good luck if you decide to replace your SR927W or SW batteries with new batteries and get this watch going again. You will have to reset the watch, reset the times, the dates, the year. I still have a little bit more work to do on that. I'm going to have to consult the manual. I think that there's some sort of resynchronization thing I've got to go through. It could also be the dual time zone, where this is pointing at 5 o'clock and it is currently 10 o'clock, a little bit after. But the minutes are not quite right. It should be 04. So I think that there's something I got to still do there. I just can't remember what it is, so I'm going to consult the manual and or maybe a video or two, because there are videos out there on how to set up the time and the zones and all that stuff, so I'll have to do that. Just one more thing, I forgot to put that sticker back, so I'm going to go through the trouble of taking the back off this watch and redoing that, because I don't want to lose those instructions. So you guys be careful and don't make that mistake that I just did and have to take the back off twice, because taking the back off as least often as possible is best. And I guess that's basically it for replacing the batteries. So good luck to you if you choose to replace your batteries, and we'll meet again at some point down the road. Thanks a lot. See ya. Okay, folks, it's a little bit bonus footage talking about some troubleshooting of this watch. After I put this watch back together and set the time, and there's also a process after setting the time of resyncing the analog hands with the digital timekeeper. So the digital time will show up in this window down here, and then the analog hours and minutes hands obviously should correspond to the digital time down here, and sometimes they don't. So you have to go through a synchronization step to get the analog hands to match the time indicated for the digital watch. And that is by entering what they call an H set mode. H is in Harry, S-E-T. And the way that you get into the H set mode is you press the adjust button for 5 seconds. And so when you're pressing the adjust button, the first 3 seconds will go by and this watch will enter the adjust mode. You keep the adjust button depressed and wait another 2 seconds, and then it will enter into the H set mode. And then manipulating this button and these two buttons, you then bring the minute, hour, and second hand to 12. And then I believe it's mode. Don't hold me to that. There are other videos that show how you do this. Then you press that button and it resynchronizes the hands, so it now knows what 12 o'clock is for the seconds, minutes, and hours, and then mechanically the watch will do its own thing and circle back to whatever the accurate digital time is based on what you set it. Excuse me. So I went through that step. Everything's fine. Synchronize the analog hands with the digital clock, and set it aside, left it overnight, and went back to this watch the next day and I discovered that the watch was stuck at about 7:40. Once again, the digital watch was completely out of sync with the analog watch, and so I tried to go back into the H-set mode, and it would only resync seconds, and the hour and minute hands would not budge for all the tea in Japan. So went online and looked to see if anybody else had complained about this problem. I only found one message thread in which someone was complaining about this, and in that message thread the consensus seemed to be that one of the two batteries are bad. Now I just gone through replacing the batteries, so I kind of was skeptical that that was the issue, but nonetheless it was the only suggestion that I saw other than to send this watch out for repair. So I opened the watch back up and double checked to make sure that the batteries were seated properly. They were, and so I did have one spare battery. I had 3 of these batteries, and so I took that one extra battery and I swapped it between, if you will, battery A, battery B. Didn't seem to have an effect. I did the reset procedure where I took my little bent paper clip and I went to the AC and that little negative symbol on the back. I did the reset a couple of times. That didn't do anything either. So at that point, I was stuck. By the way, be very careful. You see down here these 2 brass springs. When you turn this watch over, they will want to fall out on you. So be warned. You don't want to lose those little brass springs or you'll be in a world of hurt. So out of options, the only thing left that I had other than to declare this watch damaged or whatever, and was to try a Hail Mary and remove the timepiece completely from the watch case and very gently nudge the hour and minute hands manually to get them to move off wherever they were stuck, in the hopes that they were just stuck for some reason, that maybe there was a gear out of sync for some bizarre reason, whatever. Because remember, when I initially reset this watch, everything was fine. The analog hours and minutes hands and the digital watch were all synced up, and everything was running hunky-dory the night prior. And there did not seem to be a logical reason on why the next day the analog indicators were jammed up. So the only option that I thought that I had left at that point, without finding any additional information on the interweb, was to completely remove the timepiece from the case and then take something like this screwdriver and just nudge the minute hand, and I just arbitrarily moved it forward 15 minutes from where it stood, and then went back to replace the timepiece in the case. Now, word of caution here: if you wind up getting in this situation yourself, and again, before I say this, I need to emphasize, not a watch repair guy. I'm a total amateur. This is my own personal watch, and the only reason I'm working on this watch is because I needed to replace the batteries. So anything that, if you decide to take this timepiece out and muck around with it the way that I did, you do so at your own risk. I wish you good luck. In the end, it worked out for me, but it may not work out for you. And there are some things to watch out for, and that's the next thing that I want to talk about. So I'm not going to do that all over again. I'm not going to demonstrate for you removing the timepiece from the case because there's some risks there that I don't want to re-expose this watch to, because I really like this watch. I think you can still get it retail at Amazon. I think it goes for $180 or $160. So it's not you know, not super expensive, but certainly not cheap either. I definitely, I'm not going to take my chances by taking this all apart again, but follow along. The key thing that I want you to know, if you ever find yourself in a situation similar to me, where the analog hands are stuck and won't budge, and you want to try this yourself as opposed to taking it to a repair place, is that, well, first you have to take this plastic ring off, and I used a pair of tweezers, and after you remove the plastic ring, then you should be able to remove the timepiece as well by grabbing an edge somewhere around the timepiece and lifting it up that way. However, as you know, there are 4 buttons on the perimeter of the watch. So we've got a button over here, we've got a button over here, we've got a button here, we've got a button here, and there's actually 5 buttons. There's a button here too. There are tiny little, almost foil-like, not quite foil, but very, very thin sheet metal tabs on this watch where these buttons are, and they're attached on the side of the watch, not on the timepiece itself. So there's a little tab here, a little tab here, a little tab here, and here, and they are very susceptible to getting messed up because they're so thin and delicate. And that's exactly the trouble that I ran into, where I kind of mangled, I think it was this one and this one down here, quite a bit when I was trying to get the timepiece back into the watch. So it took an awful lot of fiddling before I finally got the watch to go back into the watch case with these tiny tabs on these perimeters exposed, sticking out, as I don't know if you can see that. Can I get any closer here so you can see it a little better? So here's one of the tabs I'm talking about here, and then another tiny little tab, and again, it's attached to the side of the watch case. It's not attached to the watch, and they are quite delicate and easy to mess up. All I can say to you is be careful as you can be when you're working with this. If you choose to try that, if you have this problem and you choose to try to take the timepiece out and nudge the hour hands manually yourself, because as I said, you can. It's very easy to get those little these little pieces of metal messed up, and I assume that they're there for a reason and that they're important to the function of the watch. So you want to be as super careful as you can be in dealing with that, so that you don't ruin the watch. I guess at that point, you don't have much of a choice, right? If this doesn't work, what I'm talking about here now, the chances are pretty good that you either have to decide to throw the watch away or to see if you can get it repaired at a reasonable price. You know, I don't know of a third option, and certainly if anybody does know of a third option, certainly post a comment in the comment section and share it with everybody else. So I did wanted to let you know about that. And I am so now I have to put the backing all back on and seal this thing up, hopefully for the last time, until the next time the batteries run out. And here's my O-ring. I'm doing this without my glasses, so hopefully I don't screw this up. I just want to make sure that my 12 is pointing that way, so this is the correct orientation for the back. And then we put our screws back in. So this is the third time that I've had this back off while I have been working on replacing these batteries. There always seems to be something with this particular watch. I mentioned before that I managed to damage this watch once before and did send it out for repair. And so it seems to be a little bit touchy. Okay. Can we see what where's the time? Oh, that's UTC. There we go. We're looking for north, not north, we're looking for New York, NYC. Thursday, 10/17, that sounds about right. Watch hands don't look right. I guess that's because I opened up the case. So let's do that H set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it says H set. And first we get the, oh, went too far. We get the seconds. And now the hours and minutes. And we want the hours and minutes hands to point to 12. And so we adjust the two right-hand buttons up and down to get to noon. And so we just be patient and wait. We will have to stop the rotation when we get close and then move it one button push at a time. I don't have my glasses on. That does look like 12 to me. It's a little blurry, but let's call it that. I don't know what sub is. Check my cell phone, see what time it is. It's 9:32. Daylight savings time should be on. I guess I'm going to have to completely reset this. Oops. I went out of adjustment mode again. I prefer 24-hour. What did I say? 9:33. Oh no, the year is 2022. August. Fourth. Set the light for 3 seconds. And the hours, it's not 9:34, it is 21. So we need to get back to the hours. And it says 35, okay. May need to do the H set again. We'll see. Well, it's in the 9 o'clock range. Okay. So now the watch says 21:36 in digital time down here. And it says 9:36 on the analog, so we're good to go, and we're back in sync. Now, by this time tomorrow, if we're still in sync, then this will be 100% of a success, and hopefully we won't have any more problems with this watch. So that's kind of interesting that just by removing the back of this watch, to talk about this issue, to show you the little tabs, I wound up having to reset the watch. I guess that's another little lesson learned. But be that as it may, if I don't add any more commentary to this watch, that means that by this time tomorrow the watch is functioning normally and everything's fine. So that was my experience with having a problem with this watch after changing the battery. Was there a coincidence? But did the battery change do something? I don't know. I don't think so, only because the problem with the analog hour and minutes hand getting stuck occurred well after the operation. So anybody's guess as to what went wrong. But that was my solution, and it did work, and I'm glad that it worked. And it's up to you on whether or not to try it if you encounter a similar problem. So that's it. I hope you've gotten something out of this and you found that this video useful. And good luck if you do decide to try it yourself. And again, just emphasize this. I'm not a pro, I'm an amateur, and if you do choose to do anything that I've shown you here, you do so at your own risk. And of course, if any of you know better, then by all means, post a comment below and let everybody know else, share your thoughts with everybody else. Thanks, and we'll see you with the next battery replacement. Bye for now.
Coordinated universal